Let's picture this. You are lying in bed. The world outside is completely silent. Yet, your mind is anything but silent. Just as your eyes start to close, your thoughts surge forward. What if tomorrow's meeting goes poorly? What if you forget something important? What if? And there it is, the anxiety, creeping in when you least expect it, turning ordinary moments into exhausting battles. So, welcome to the Thoughtful Doctor, where medicine meets humanity. Today, we are diving into anxiety, not the neat textbook version, the everyday version, the one that shows up when we are trying to fall asleep, and suddenly our brain decides it is a perfect time to review every possible thing that could go wrong. The one that happens before an appointment, before a meeting, before a message is answered, even before a journey, before a conversation we have been putting off. But nothing has actually happened yet. Somehow our body is already responding as if it has. I think which is why the anxiety is interesting. Because it does not always announce itself as anxiety. And sometimes it looks like planning. Other times it might look like being organized or being responsible. Sometimes it even looks like thinking ahead so we do not make a mistake. And which is why anxiety can be so difficult to spot. Because at the beginning, it often feels useful. And it indeed is. Because our brain is trying to protect us. It is scanning for risks, preparing for problems, running through possible outcomes, and trying to make sure that we are not caught off guard. And sometimes that is helpful. But sometimes the system goes too far. The mind does not just prepare for the future, but it starts living there. We are physically in one place, but mentally somewhere else entirely. So we might be sitting safely at home, but our brain is already in tomorrow's meeting, or next week's appointment, or a conversation that has not even happened or may never happen. And the body follows it. The chest starts tightening, the stomach might start turning, the jaw might start clenching, and the breathing might become shallower. And then the mind notices all of that and thinks something must be wrong. So it starts searching again. What if I missed something? What if I can't cope? What if they think badly of me? Or what if I've made some wrong decisions? And before long, we are not dealing with just one worry. We are inside a whole story of our own mind. This is the most difficult things about anxiety. Because it is not just a thought. It is a loop. When the body feels unsafe, the mind starts looking for a reason. And the thoughts become more worrying. And the body becomes even more activated. And round it goes into a vicious circle. So many of us will recognize this in very ordinary moments. Like lying in the bed, exhausted, but suddenly feeling mentally wide awake. Sitting in the car before going somewhere and already imagining how difficult it might be. Reading a message and filling in the gaps before the other person has even replied. Because anxiety loves gaps. It loves uncertainty. And when brain does not know what will happen, it tries to predict. And sometimes that prediction becomes worry. Now let's take a moment to consider parenting. Imagine a mother who is constantly anxious about her child's performance at school. She worries about grades, friendships, and whether her child is fitting in. Now, when she is overwhelmed, she might become irritable or overly controlling and unconsciously transmitting her anxiety to her child. And we know children are incredibly perceptive. They pick up on their parents' emotions and cues, often internalizing that anxiety as their own, which can lead to the kids feeling pressure to perform and trying ways to avoid disappointing their parents. So, over time, this cycle can contribute to the children developing their own anxiety as they learn to navigate the world through the lens of their parents' fears. So, which is why it's important to remember something. Anxiety is not always a sign that something is wrong. Perhaps it's a sign that our brain is trying very hard to keep us safe. But also remember, the brain can overestimate danger and it can treat the possibility as probability. It can make what if feel like what is, and that is exhausting. It is also important to say this clearly. Anxiety is perfectly normal human emotion. All of us feel anxious at times, especially around uncertainty, change, pressure, or things that matter to us. But anxiety can become more than a passing feeling. If it is persistent, excessive, hard to control, or starts interfering with sleep, work, appetite, relationships, parenting, or everyday life, it may be moving into the territory of an anxiety disorder. And panic is worth naming too at this point. A panic attack can feel sudden and frightening. The heart may race, breathing can feel difficult, we may feel dizzy, shaky, hot, sick, detached, or frightened that something terrible is happening. For some people, it can genuinely feel as if they are losing control and even that they might die. And even when panic itself is not dangerous, the experience can be terrifying. So, this is not about dismissing it. It is not about saying, just calm down. Because if that worked, most of us would have done it already. If panic attacks are happening repeatedly, if we start avoiding places or situations because of them, or if anxiety is making life smaller, it is worth seeking support. And I can't stress that enough. And if the symptoms are new, severe, unusual, or include things like chest pain, fainting, or significant breathlessness, it is even more important to get urgent medical advice. So, even though understanding anxiety matters, but so does knowing when we do not have to manage it alone. So, what we can do when the anxiety starts pulling us away from the present. Not to fight it, not to shame ourselves for having it, but to help the brain and body realize that we are here, not in the imagined future, just here. There are a few ways to do that. So, first one is checking the facts. Not because the feeling is fake, the feeling is real. But feelings are not always accurate forecasts. So we can ask, what do I actually know? What am I assuming? What evidence do I have? And what else could be true if not this? But not in a harsh way. Not like we are cross examining ourselves. More like we are gently widening the picture. Because anxiety narrows the things, it makes the future feel certain. And usually that certainty is negative. But often what we are responding to is not a fact, it is just a prediction. And predictions are not the same as truth. Another tool that can help, especially when worry keeps returning, that is the scheduled worry time. It sounds a bit odd, I know, but it's very interesting and my favorite. The idea is simple. Instead of letting the worry leak into your whole day, you give it a container. Let's say 10 minutes at a set time in your day. We write the worries down, we look at them properly, and when they come up earlier in the day, we can just say, not now, I'll come back to this later. It may not make the worry disappear, but it might stop it taking over every spare moment of your day. And sometimes that alone makes the mind feel less crowded. We also need to remember the body here, because anxiety is not just thinking, it is physical. So sometimes we cannot think our way out of it. We need to help the body feel safer at that point. So a slower breath can help, especially a longer out breath. So a slower breath in and a longer breath out signals our nervous system that we are not in immediate danger. Movement, that can help too. Maybe a walk, stretching, shaking out the tension. Because anxiety creates that energy in the body. And sometimes that energy needs somewhere to go. And then there are the basics that sound boring but matter more than we like to admit, like sleep, food, hydration, rest, caffeine. If our body is running on very little sleep, too much caffeine, irregular meals, and constant pressure, our nervous system has less buffer. That does not mean anxiety is our fault. It means the system is working with fewer resources. And that distinction matters the most. Because we are not blaming ourselves. We are understanding the conditions our mind and body are trying to cope with. So maybe the question is not, why am I like this? Maybe the better question is, what is my brain trying to protect me from? What does it think is at risk? Is this real danger or a predicted one. Because once we see anxiety as protective, not weakness, something shifts, something changes. We do not have to obey every anxious thought, but we also do not have to hate ourselves for having them. Because we can listen, check, ground, and come back to now. So before we finish today, this week's thoughtful doctor prescription. When the anxiety starts pulling us into the future, try the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. Name 5 things we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing we can taste. Then ask gently, am I responding to what is happening now or to what my mind is predicting might happen? That is it. Not to force calm, not to fix everything, just to return to the present for a moment. Because anxiety often lives in the future, and grounding helps us come back to where our feet actually are. So before we finish, let's take a slower breath in and a longer breath out and hold this thought lightly. Maybe anxiety is not the proof that something is wrong. Maybe it is our brain trying very hard to keep us safe. So until next time, remember, we are not failing. We are learning something we were never taught or we have never thought. Because the world moves fast, but understanding people and minds take time. Thank you and take care.